Reports emerging from the Financial Times indicate that China is pressing the United States to ease its strict export controls on advanced artificial intelligence chips as part of the ongoing negotiations for a potential trade deal between the two global powers. The revelation comes amid heightened economic tensions and a series of diplomatic exchanges aimed at stabilizing an increasingly volatile relationship between Washington and Beijing. According to sources familiar with the talks, the request from Beijing focuses on the U.S. restrictions introduced in recent years that have severely limited China's access to cutting-edge AI semiconductors, technology considered vital for next-generation industries ranging from autonomous vehicles to advanced defense systems. These controls, implemented to curb the advancement of China's AI capabilities in ways that could potentially threaten U.S. national security, have also hindered the operations of Chinese tech companies that rely on foreign-manufactured chips to compete in the global market. The discussions are part of a broader trade negotiation that seeks to address disputes over tariffs, intellectual property rights, and market access. Chinese officials are said to be framing the relaxation of chip export rules as a necessary step toward achieving a balanced economic partnership, emphasizing that the technology is critical for mutual growth and global innovation. While no final agreement has been reached, people close to the matter told the Financial Times that this demand has become a focal point in the talks, potentially shaping the overall direction of the trade deal. The U.S., under the Biden administration, has maintained a firm stance on restricting the flow of advanced technology to China, citing security concerns and fears that American-made AI chips could be used to enhance military applications. These measures have targeted specific products from major U.S. chipmakers such as NVIDIA and AMD, limiting the sale of their most sophisticated processors to Chinese firms. Washington argues that these controls are vital to preventing what it calls strategic vulnerabilities that could give Beijing an edge in sensitive sectors. However, the request from China suggests that easing these controls could be a bargaining chip in return for concessions in other areas, such as tariff reductions or greater access to the Chinese market for American companies. In recent months, trade negotiators from both sides have met multiple times in discrete settings, aiming to narrow the gap between competing interests. The AI chip issue, however, remains particularly contentious. Analysts note that while economic cooperation in certain sectors could benefit both nations, technology remains the most politicized and strategically sensitive area of the relationship. The Chinese delegation is reportedly highlighting the global nature of AI research and development, arguing that restricting the flow of AI hardware not only hampers China's economic progress but also risks slowing down worldwide technological advancement. The U.S. position, meanwhile, is complicated by domestic political factors. Lawmakers from both major parties have been vocal about the need to maintain America's technological lead, warning that relaxing export controls could undermine years of strategic planning. The Biden administration must also consider the geopolitical implications of any concessions, as U.S. allies in Asia and Europe closely watch the progress of these negotiations. Countries such as Japan, South Korea, and the Netherlands, which play key roles in the semiconductor supply chain, have faced similar U.S. pressure to align with its export control policies, further underscoring the global stakes involved. The push for a relaxation of AI chip controls comes at a time when China's technology sector is under increasing strain. The restrictions have forced Chinese companies to search for alternative suppliers, accelerate domestic chip production, and invest heavily in AI research that does not rely on restricted U.S. hardware. While China has made progress in some areas, experts say that replicating the performance of high-end U.S.-made chips remains a significant challenge. This technological gap has become a symbol of the broader strategic rivalry between the two nations, influencing economic, military, and diplomatic policy on both sides. For Washington, the negotiations present a difficult balancing act. On one hand, securing a comprehensive trade agreement with China could ease inflationary pressures, improve supply chain stability, and open new markets for U.S. exporters. On the other, compromising on AI chip controls risks criticism from domestic industry leaders and national security experts who see advanced semiconductors as the crown jewels of American innovation. The Biden administration has so far indicated a willingness to listen to China's concerns but insists that any decision will be guided by U.S. security assessments and long-term strategic interests. International markets are already reacting to the news, with semiconductor stocks showing increased volatility in anticipation of possible policy shifts. Investors are keenly watching whether the talks could lead to a relaxation of restrictions, which would likely boost sales for major U.S. chipmakers but also intensify competition from Chinese firms. Meanwhile, technology industry leaders have been lobbying quietly on both sides, with American companies eager to regain access to one of the world's largest markets and Chinese firms seeking relief from supply bottlenecks that hinder their competitiveness. The geopolitical dimension of the AI chip debate cannot be overstated. As artificial intelligence becomes a defining technology of the 21st century, the ability to design, produce, and deploy high-performance chips has become a measure of national power. For China, securing access to U.S. AI hardware could accelerate its ambitions to become a global leader in AI-driven industries. For the United States, maintaining control over this critical technology is seen as essential to preserving its strategic advantage, not only over China but also in the broader context of great power competition. Diplomats involved in the talks are said to be exploring creative compromises, such as partial easing of restrictions, licensing arrangements for specific applications, or joint ventures that could allow limited technology sharing under strict monitoring. Such solutions, however, would require a high level of trust and verification, something that has been in short supply in recent U.S.-China relations. Past trade agreements have often faltered due to disagreements over implementation and enforcement, raising questions about whether any deal involving sensitive technology can be sustained over the long term. As the negotiations continue, the outcome will likely hinge on whether both sides can frame the AI chip issue as part of a broader win-win economic package rather than a zero-sum security dilemma. If successful, an agreement could mark a rare moment of cooperation in an otherwise tense relationship, potentially setting the stage for further collaboration on global challenges such as climate change, public health, and financial stability. If not, the impasse could deepen the technological divide, fueling a prolonged era of economic decoupling and geopolitical rivalry. In the coming weeks, trade officials are expected to hold additional meetings to refine the terms of the potential deal. While optimism remains cautious, the very fact that China is openly linking AI chip access to trade negotiations underscores the central role technology now plays in global diplomacy. Whether Washington chooses to compromise, resist, or find a middle path will have lasting consequences, not only for the U.S.-China relationship but also for the global trajectory of artificial intelligence and high-tech innovation. For now, the world waits to see if the economic incentives are strong enough to bridge the deep mistrust that has defined this critical bilateral relationship for much of the past decade.